Gandhi's work in South Africa helped to establish him as a leader and a symbol of resistance to colonial oppression. His advocacy for nonviolent resistance and his belief in the power of individual action to effect social change continue to inspire people around the world today. Gandhi's return to India in 1915 marked a turning point in his life, as well as in the history of India. He was quickly welcomed into the Indian National Congress, where he emerged as a powerful force for change. His philosophy of nonviolent resistance and his commitment to social justice resonated with the Indian people, who had long suffered under British rule. Gandhi's first major campaign in India was the Non-Cooperation Movement, which he launched in 1920. The movement called for Indians to boycott British goods and institutions, and to refuse to pay taxes or participate in British-run elections. The campaign was a huge success, as millions of Indians joined in the protest and the British government was forced to make concessions. In 1930, Gandhi launched another major campaign, the Salt March. The campaign was a protest against the British government's monopoly on the production and sale of salt, which was an essential commodity in India. Gandhi led a group of followers on a 240-mile march to the sea, where they made salt in violation of the British law. The Salt March was a powerful symbol of Indian resistance to British rule, and it inspired a wave of protests and civil disobedience throughout the country. Gandhi's most famous campaign, however, was the Quit India movement of 1942. The movement called for the immediate withdrawal of the British from India, and it led to a wave of strikes, protests, and acts of civil disobedience throughout the country. The British government responded with harsh repression, and thousands of Indians were arrested and imprisoned. Despite the crackdown, the movement helped to galvanize the Indian people in their struggle for independence. Throughout his life, Gandhi remained committed to his philosophy of nonviolent resistance and civil disobedience. He believed that these principles were essential to the success of the Indian independence movement, and he inspired millions of people around the world with his message of peace and justice. Gandhi's legacy as a leader, philosopher, and advocate for social change continues to inspire people today. During World War II, the British government faced mounting pressure from Indian nationalists to grant India its independence. Gandhi saw an opportunity to press the issue and launched the Quit India movement in August 1942. The movement called for the immediate withdrawal of the British from India, and it was supported by a wide range of political and social groups. The British responded to the movement with brute force, and thousands of Indians were arrested and imprisoned. Gandhi and other leaders were held in detention for several years, and the movement was largely suppressed by the British authorities. However, the movement had a profound impact on Indian society and politics, and it helped to unite the Indian people in their struggle for independence. Despite the repression, Gandhi remained committed to his philosophy of nonviolent resistance and civil disobedience. He believed that violence only begets more violence, and that the only way to achieve lasting change was through peaceful means. He urged his followers to resist the British government through nonviolent means, such as strikes, boycotts, and other forms of civil disobedience. Gandhi's commitment to nonviolence and civil disobedience was put to the test during the Bengal famine of 1943, which was caused by a combination of natural disasters and British government policies. Gandhi launched a campaign to provide relief to the famine victims, but he refused to accept British government aid, arguing that it would compromise India's independence. Instead, he urged his followers to donate money and food to the relief effort. Despite the challenges and setbacks, Gandhi's perseverance and courage inspired millions of Indians to continue the fight for independence. His philosophy of nonviolent resistance and civil disobedience continues to be a powerful force for change around the world, and his legacy as a leader, philosopher, and advocate for social justice remains as strong today as ever. The granting of independence to India in 1947 was a major victory for Gandhi and the Indian independence movement, but it was also a time of great turmoil and division. The country was divided into two separate nations, India and Pakistan, and the partition resulted in widespread violence and displacement of people. Gandhi recognized the dangers of religious and political divisions and worked tirelessly to unite Hindus and Muslims in a shared vision of a free and independent India. He spoke out against communal violence and worked to promote religious harmony, urging Indians of all faiths to come together in a spirit of unity and cooperation. In the months following independence, Gandhi continued to work towards this goal, but his efforts were cut short by his tragic assassination on January 30, 1948. His killer, Nathuram Godse, was a Hindu extremist who opposed Gandhi's vision of a united India and believed that his policies were a threat to Hindu interests. Gandhi's death was a profound loss for India and the world. He had become a symbol of hope and inspiration for millions of people, and his commitment to non-violence and civil disobedience had inspired countless movements for social justice and human rights. Today, Gandhi's legacy as a leader, philosopher, and advocate for social justice continues to inspire people around the world. His philosophy of non-violent resistance and civil disobedience has been adopted by countless movements, from the American Civil Rights Movement to the struggle against apartheid in South Africa. Gandhi's life and work also serve as a reminder of the power of individual action to effect positive change in the world. He showed that one person, through commitment, perseverance, and courage, can make a difference in the lives of millions of people. His message of peace, love, and unity remains as relevant today as it was during his lifetime, and his legacy will continue to inspire future generations to work towards a better, more just world. Gandhi's philosophy of non-violence, which he called satyagraha, has had a profound impact on the world. It inspired numerous civil rights and anti-war movements, including the American Civil Rights Movement led by Martin Luther King Jr. King was deeply influenced by Gandhi's teachings and believed that non-violent resistance was the most effective way to bring about social change. He organized numerous protests and campaigns, including the Montgomery bus boycott of 1955, which challenged racial segregation in the United States. Nelson Mandela, the South African anti-apartheid leader and Nobel Peace Prize laureate, was also inspired by Gandhi's philosophy of non-violence. Mandela spent 27 years in prison for his activism, and upon his release, he worked tirelessly to end apartheid and bring about a peaceful transition to democracy in South Africa. Mandela believed that non-violence was the most powerful weapon against oppression and used it throughout his life to fight for justice and equality.